My understanding is that Rick cannot join us because of the shutdown. So I'm kind of just stepping as moderator today. Um, I'd also like to thank Rick, thank Eddie for helping out in developing these ATSPM monthly calls. But I would just like to get right into the topic, introducing Uday, who is sharing how the city of Bryan turned a proof of concept ATSPM into a secure cloud-hosted vendor agnostic system that delivers real-time signal performance and how that model scales quickly without getting stuck on IT or hardware. Please take it away, Uday.
Thank you, Justin. Hello, everyone. I too would like to thank Federal Highways, especially in these times, Eddie, Jamie, and Richard, and yourself, Justin, for these webinars. I've always liked them. And, well, it's my turn to contribute. So here we go. Yeah, so earlier this year, we working at the City of Bryan, we working with Traffic Signal Alliance. So before I go through all the technical stuff and forget them, let me mention them. They really helped us to stand up an SPM. Started off as a sort of a passion project, and after we made progress, we found that we actually have something here, and we did it, purely sweat equity, and I didn't spend any money on anything, and just sort of got it done. And so for the whole, as you can see, for the whole, this is all of our signals, um, and so we thought that we probably found some things that we can share and also learn from this group as to maybe if there are better ideas that some other people are also playing with. So let me just go ahead and get started on my slide because that's probably the easiest thing to do. So the motivation, um, as you all probably experience, you get something like this. Hey, City of Bryan, the traffic is gridlocked, and please fix something, do something. And we all know the ATSPM has been established as a major initiative for something like this. The program is called Every Day Counts, and maybe for ATSPM, every second counts. So I've presented the this before, and people told me, "Hey, get to the point as to what you're doing, business goals." So let me express them the best I can. So we want to be a data-driven, that is distinct from being like complaints driven, not complaints. Uh, by the time somebody complains and you go fix it, a lot of time has been wasted. So we want to be the first one to know, not last. Sometimes I get some pushback on this saying, oh yeah, we all want to be proactive. Well, it's not really proactive in our business. If you're not the first to know in operations and traffic operations, we're the last to know. And then by that time, like I said, I mean, a lot of time has passed. We also want to be diagnosing problems, not trying to go and reproduce them after the fact. So we want to get as much of a 360-degree view of the situation that was reported. And so all this sort of points to very generally SPM, okay, signal performance measures. So what are our options? Now I have a benefit of 2020 hindsight. So uh, this is what I'm sharing. Please feel free to put in chat uh, your thoughts. So the default is obviously, we have a call center and social media, like I just showed you, the Facebook post. There's also crowdsource, like we're looking into uh, Google Ways, generally Google. Um, if you do not have a network and you have some money, I think probe data, it's very hard to beat the benefit of probe data. I want to give a shout out to Inrix folks. They are actually, if you click on these links, you can actually go to their new API. I like to think that our efforts contributed towards them thinking about an API approach. So they're doing that. Even folks who have pioneered the ATSPM approach. Actually, Darcy Bullock wrote a paper about uh, probe data. So another thing, if you don't have any network, just again, this is 2020 hindsight. One of the best options could be uh, just installing something locally, a detection camera with communications. So that means that it is sending data as soon as at the very source of detection, the data is being picked up and being transported to the cloud. And so now you can go to work with tools. Uh, Again, I'd love to know your thoughts if that is a good option. Without that, basically, we're dealing with logs that are signal controller logs that are local to the cabinet. So you have to go and download them and bring them back. So there's no magic sort of that I'm doing here. It's like, yeah, you just go whatever cabinets are not online, you would just get it that way and feed it into the interface. Now, if you have communications and they're available, then you have all these nice things. You could do a lot of SPM in ATMS if it is functional. In our case, that was not fully the case. We're still working on making that stable. And obviously, now that you have comms, you actually have logs over the network that you can pull them by FTP or SSH and all that. So that's also an obvious, ATSPM is, becomes really useful when you have a network. And so I just want to lay it out there. If anybody is, thinking again, operating a signal network like 100 signals or whatever, small city, these are some of the things that are initially how you want to think about it. Again, this link goes to a paper that is authored by let me see if I can bring that up, by my good friends Srini Sankari and Nadeem Chowdhury. I mean, it's not because of the fact that they're good friends that I'm bringing this up. It's just I found it on Google, and it actually is a great. What is remarkable about it is that there is actually a cost breakdown as well as to how much it takes per signal, and you can take that and multiply the number of signals you operate or need SPM on and get a good estimate on what it would cost to implement an SPM. And if you have that money, do it. I mean, don't do what I did. And so I'll be honest about that. So, but in our case, that was not a option. And that's because we have a policy for procurement. So this is actually an email from our CIO. And the green is basically my take on that now that I know. So the IT policy, departments cannot directly purchase any new software, et cetera, et cetera. But when they say IT, it really means the whole city procurement, complying with all kinds of laws and all that. When they see technology items, it really means networked secure cybersecurity threat items. So when they say any new, it just means that that's it. We have a vendor here. We don't want to deal with anybody else. And what that guarantees is you can get obsolete really, really quick. And the when they say project framework, that's just a big business justification that has very little to do. It has to do with how it helps the city and all that. So that can take a long time. We still don't have a implementation. We don't, we're open to anybody who has a good product out there. But this is what we have to go deal with. So the challenges, yeah, I mean, I'll go through them really quickly. I've already covered some. The ideal data flow is sort of on the left side on top. The reality is more like, the spider web you see in the bottom. And There's many gaps in there. Uh, and these are all challenges. The last but not least of which is, do you guys really have people to do it? And if you actually do it, do you have people to motivated enough, have the time to look at a screen and um, make use of it and not be, be data driven and not be complaints driven. So the solution, and this is ideal for small agencies, is to standardize signal controller high resolution logs. So a lot of this has already happened, but has some problems with it. I will discuss in a minute. Uh, as Justin mentioned, cloud hosting. Why? Because it's elastic. It can grow, and it can start with the city, but it can actually, uh, if we use proper techniques like um, multi-threading and all that, properly do it, you can scale it. It's massively scalable. That's the advantage of it. Uh, Once we do it, you don't have to repeat it again. So we can get dashboards from that and benefit everybody who is on that service. So that's the kind of service that the Traffic Signal Alliance guys provided us. I'm going to quickly see what the chat is. Yep, good. And yeah, once the data is out there in interfaces in the form of has not only the data, but also there's API to it, then all the tools can go to work. We can integrate with, you know, public wayfinding or probe data, like I was mentioning. We're getting started to do. There is an air-gapped aspect of this where we, all the city network, what is going on inside does not matter to what is in the cloud. So that's, once we put things out there, there is nothing in that data that will uh, enable anybody to hack into our network. The IP address has been cleaned, and it's all pseudo IP addresses at the same time. So it conforms to the high resolution signal control log formats, but with uh, security built into its exposition, right? And then, yeah, I mean, on top of that, you can bolt on like tools and notifications. Again, they don't have to be all in one system, right? I mean, all the watchdog alerts and whatnot, let what specialized tools do what they do best inside your networks. So that is a solution, because every small city has an IT department that can monitor your network. You don't need a SPM to be doing that. But if we architect the data flows in this manner, then we're able to scale and support, say, a one service like this at a state level or even a national level can um, support um, many jurisdictions, many agencies. That's what uh, TSA is doing in Nevada. They already run a big system. Ours is a small system. It's just living there, and so far has not cost us both much money. So about Bryan, we operate about 72 signals. We have a mix of communications, fiber, radio, cellular, and some are, the new ones especially are offline. We do have the Siemens M60 controller and various generations of detection systems, um, as you can imagine, over the years. So how did we do this? I mean, we first obviously take stock of our signals, just list them like this. Uh, Again, just 1 through 72 and what their coordinates are, what their different attributes are. So that's, you absolutely have to do that first. Um, and then start the data flows from controllers. Uh, the ones that have network, you can automate it. The ones that do not have a manual, all of them go into a shared folder. We do a decoding of that data and put it out there. So again, to give you a insight into how we do that, we start with a data file that looks like this. Is obviously very particular to the Siemens controller, but it could be something that other controllers also share, that they have IP address built into it. Now I know it's fake, but still, if you get into our network, you can access it. So we first change the IP address, then we do a translation from the DAT file to the CSV file, and then we found that the IP address is still in the CSV file, so we sort of replace that as well. And only then it goes out of our enterprise boundary. So how does it look out there in Azure? This is how it looks. I mean, it's a portal that you can access publicly, and it's just a flat, what is known as the Azure blob exposition. And basically each file here that you can see like this pertains to every single detection for 1 hour. So the highlights of our implementation is we retrieve the log files. We don't allow anybody to, IT does not allow anybody to access or install anything here. It has to go through that big process I mentioned. So it eliminates a lot of the usual security concerns that just hold up projects. So you can get going very quickly using this approach. So yeah, it fixes problems in the standards. Hopefully the standards themselves will be informed to not be including IP addresses and stuff like that, private information in what really is public data. So the ownership of the data is for the public, for the other applications. So that's how it should be. And if we can clean it up at the source, would be really great. So I think the beauty of this is that any original source file is okay. So even a manual upload is okay. Or if we change a controller, there is a completely different vendor, which we are doing. Then it doesn't matter because the interface is going to be exactly the same. And so everything downstream does not need to know what is happening in the city to be dependent on that. And that way you build a very solid sort of client base, if you will. And one of the biggest complaints we get is like, we don't want to deal with all these IT departments. So correct, don't deal with it. It's our problem to get the data out to you. So I want to say a few words. I don't know if Gong is on, but he can probably speak to this more eloquently than me. The Azure, there is a mapping component to that. It is built on Azure Maps. It's just a much cleaner interface. It's UDOT has some experience with it, and so this was built on top of that. And so it provides a much better integration path for future GIS. So this is a very, very powerful base platform. I think we can get many products out of the box already. It's open source. So time space diagrams. So all the core UDOT functions are there. TSA has Traffic Signal Alliance. They've actually developed additional bolt-on, time space diagram trajectory. Even have a GIS app to actually do travel time studies, and that can integrate with this platform. So that shows you how extensible it is. So yeah, I think this is both a success story. I mean, I'm very happy with it, and this collaboration sort of is an example collaboration how agencies, if they have the will, can overcome some of the more common implementation hurdles, IT resistance, staffing limitations, budget constraints, using that all the investments they've already made, and also the investments the government has made. This all the UDOT ATSPM is actually funded by the FHWA pool funds study to, it's almost like a what we call in the business a reference implementation, meaning that they define what it is and they implemented it. So everybody else uses it to build on top of that. So, I mean, I have some experience, Java developers. So all the servers used to be built like that. Like they used to um, define the standards for, say, the Tomcat server or something, and then somebody would just go implement exactly that, nothing more, nothing less. So, um, so it becomes a platform on which you can build other things, host other things. I will close with that and open it up for discussion.
You so much, Uday. There's quite a lot to unpack. It's such a great presentation. I especially liked one of the first slides where it was data driven, not complaint driven. First to know, not last to know. Diagnose, not reproduce. I think that's a very um, powerful slide and gets us into the GHOST methodology, goals, context, objectives, strategies, and tactics, kind of really finding out the what we want. And then I was also very impressed with a lot of the conversation of the architecture, which really reminds me of the systems engineering process and really designing the system for what you want. So kudos to all of that, Uday and Traffic Signal Alliance. A lot of really cool stuff that you guys are creating. Um, First question in the chat was, do you receive any of the metrics from INRIX, such as percent on green, percent on red, control delay, and do you get these MOEs from your own SPM?
So, uh, yeah, we had a pilot with Inrix, and I, like one thing we don't say in these seminars is we don't try to promote anything, I guess. But at the same time, I want to give a shout out to Inrix. They, they, I mean, here's the bottom line. If you don't have a network, you don't want to deal with doing this, Inrix, or let's just vendor agnostically say probe data is your best bet. It doesn't even have to do anything with Signal. So as to your question, do you receive any of the metrics? No, we do not. We don't have any money. Remember? So,
So,
our,
Uday,
yeah, go ahead.
if you don't mind me ask, so is it very expensive to get those from Enrix? I mean, do you
Well,
have rough idea
Inrix,
how much?
okay. Inrix, I mean, would be happy to give you a estimate. The estimates um, are, they are. I don't want to speak for Inrix. I mean, they are basically a syndicator of data, so it costs them money. So let me just describe their model, and so you understand. So every intersection they turn on, there's a cost involved to them, and therefore they have to. So I can't say, hey, Inrix, give me a pilot for my whole city. That would not be a realistic thing. For me, it was like I did not want to wait. I just wanted to go and get whatever data I have and throw it into some system and get going. And so that was the difference. I mean, actually cost, I mean, if you have the budget for SPM, I think they're about comparable. It really depends on your need as to which signals you want them on. But if you don't want to, like I said, if you don't have a network, that's the way to go.
But, the reason, I'm asking the question because, of course, if you have to, deploy your own system, of course, there's a lot of, not only initial cost, but also the maintenance and upkeep, right? Cost.
Yes.
So, and I was wondering, if you looked into that to see if, in long run, which way, does it make sense to go one way or the other?
To me, because I am like a software engineer, I guess, to me, it makes sense to roll up your sleeves and go after the raw data. Start there. Because I'll tell you, man, you'll find all sort of gremlins in there. If that data at the basic level, at the bottom of the peep, it's messed up, then I don't care what money you spend and create what kind of fantastic dashboard, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? So I wanted to see the data and feel it and throw it into some spreadsheet, look at it. And I found problems with it. And, so I know the limitations. I know that whatever, delays or whatever I'm seeing, I need to take it with the pinch of salt and all that. So I would encourage anybody really interested in this thing to start with the raw data and then build any applications on top of that.
Got it.
That's my
Thank you.
approach.
Thank you.
Andrew's first question was answered. Matt's question, did you approach the college to see if they could do some of the heavy lifting for you?
College. What college? Texas A&M?
Yeah, isn't Bryan close to College Station?
Yes, but we have zero interaction with A&M, but TTI. Absolutely. We talk to them all the time. If your point is that they should host something like this, I would say yes.
Oh, I'm from Oregon, the Portland area, and we
Right.
work
No.
pretty close. We work very closely with two of our colleges here,
Oh, I
and
see.
so I didn't know if there was something that
Yeah,
you
so
get
College Station is a separate city. They have their own
right,
traffic operations, and
right.
they we yeah. The what we built can scale. They do have an SPM. I'm jealous of how much money they have because of football. They, there was I'll just share a story with traffic engineer over there. He At one time they were so mad that they couldn't get out of after the game, and so they like some powerful person just called them and said, "Fix it." And he was like, "What do you need to fix it?" And then he said, "I need $5 million and 3 guys." And they're like, "I'll get you 5 million, but not the 3 guys." So we don't have that kind of drivers, if you're asking, we don't. So they have other priorities. They have to, really deal with a lot of traffic that suddenly loads the network, has to go in a certain direction. Although we are close to College Station, where I don't see in the data, and that's a great thing, right? When I'm looking at the controller data, uh, we are somewhat impacted, but not, on game days and stuff like that. Uh, so far, I don't see a huge impact like that. We have some planning things that we do, like run buses from parking lots and all that. But signal operations, no. So we don't have a uh, business case to even ask, if that makes sense.
Hey,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
see a question, Chad, from actually, it's not a question. I think, a piece of information from David. He says NCT COG has procured 7,000 licenses.
Yes, we're pushing our cog to do that as well. And our budget was probably not even enough for the pilot. So,
Wow.
um,
So, David, is this, does it include like, is it full blown, or it has some features, and then if you need additional one, they're gonna be charging you?
Well, COG went out to bid on a platform, and it includes like the analytics. You get a lot of by approach data and all for all of the signals in the 10 county region, but it was a large procurement for the entire region. And TxDOT has a roadway analytics where it's available to all the agencies in the state, and then the COG one is for everybody in the region for the signal analytics.
Central Texas is part of it too?
For the roadway analytics,
No, for signal. I'm kidding.
no. Austin has something that they're doing.
Okay.
Next, we have Sean, who has two questions. Second question that he asked is actually a question I had too. But we'll get to the first one. So you're putting the data in Azure, and then the ATSPM platform extracts it from there. So are there two copies of the data?
No, that is the whole point. The Azure exposition is the single source of truth. And that's it. That's what happened in Bryan. Every single minute, every single micro millisecond, actually. And from there, one of the apps that got powered up is the open source ATSPM. Why? Because it readily feeds off that format. It's a standards-based format, and that's the key. And by the way, it's not like I should show you this CSV. It's nothing to it. It's a timestamp followed by event. That's it. And there was a company. It was one of those unicorns, $1 billion companies that became really 2000 called Splunk. Their whole business was built on this, and there's a whole bunch of log analyzers like that. The whole cottage industry, but if you have something that is timestamp and event, that's it. There is a fantastic tooling out there to do. Of course, it's not like signal analytical tools, but they are smart enough. I tried to teach Grok how to do this and kind of maxed it out. I think I understand only very little, so I understand that the neural network needs to be a little deeper or whatever to well, all I got was like some hallucinations and trying to buttering me up. But well, what I was going with the thought was, yeah, once you have that layer established, then you build on top of it. So there is no duplication anywhere.
Good. And then the second question that Sean had, which was also a question I had, was if you could elaborate on the problems you encountered with Indiana DOT standards.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, no problems except one, and just one. And it is when we went back to the signal control. I mean, well, I'll just tell you the story as it happened. We were like, oh, this IP address is in the file name. And when I decoded, it's inside the file, comma separated file as well in clear text. And I asked my IT guys, hey, is this okay? And they were like, nope, not okay. And so I go back to the vendor, and the vendor says, that's the standard, buddy. I can't do anything to fix that. Go talk to whoever made the standard. So I am too small to tell anybody to do anything. So what I did is rename the file. And when I decoded it, I took that IP out and put a pseudo IP in there. Now, initially I was writing scripts and all that. These are what I just described to you is a trivial thing to do, really, from a good IT department. So yes, the IT department said no, but at the same time, they said, this has nothing to it. We're just going to like point and click it like they have a service bus of some sort. And it does all that. So once you start automating it, these sort of transformations are possible to, basically protect your IT. They just don't want to get hacked. They've been hacked and ransomed so many times that they don't want to deal with even a remote threat. So anyway, yeah, that's the problem with the Indiana DOT standards. It has the IP address in the file name, and it's doesn't, I mean, there should be, I think, in the standard, a unique way of identifying a signal controller. And a MAC address is a good one, but it can be user defined as well. And I think it should be user defined. Does that answer your question?
I think it does. Cybersecurity 101. Definitely get that IP address
Oh
out of
yeah,
there.
it's 101. I'll tell you cybersecurity 100. Change your password. Siemens controller. You can just Google it, and you'll end up on a Reddit page for all its administrator password and everything. It's like, so if you have the IP address, then anybody who, if our network is compromised for some reason, you can take over the signal controller. You know, so just doesn't seem right to me. So yeah,
Nice.
100 would be to change your password. That's, if you forget everything, cybersecurity, change your password.
Be true. This next question is kind of for anyone, and if Derek or Mark from UDOT want to comment on it too. Is anyone using the Utah DOT ATSPM platform, either version, making the raw data available via API or other mechanism for third-party apps and public-facing custom dashboards? Does anyone have a comment on that?
I put a comment in there just that there are several people who have ATSPM 5.0 now, so they can, because ATSPM 5.0 is all built off of APIs. Any data you see in there is now available via API. Here at Avenue, we've built a few tools that leverages that when we're doing UDOT work. Just some analysis tools we use internally. So, but I don't know specifically of any agencies that have built other tools on top of that yet.
Derek, let's do it. You and me, garage.
All right.
Startup.
I'm in, Uday.
Thanks, Derek. Next question. Is there anything you think is still missing from the current solution? What's next? Can you at a high level quickly see any issues or problems? Monitor detection health? Be alerted to failures, changes, etc.?
Oh, I love that question. It is, I could talk for hours on that. Okay. What I love about SPM, okay, is that it truly requires intelligence to process it. It's not like something that can just read it and do something, right? An example, a lot of our detection failures are silent. No detection camera will say, I'm broke, fix me. It'll just not, you know, the only way, well, sometimes anyway, you can tell is that if what was working for many years suddenly is not detecting anything, and you'll see a flat line in the SPM. Okay, so that is a fantastic example of detection health that you may not realize until somebody actually waits at a light and goes, what's going on? And then you have to diagnose it, right? And then, yeah, you can probably figure it out if you, but if you're intelligently processing your SPM continuously, then you can be alerted to that. Of course, you need to have a notification engine and ticketing system that it's taken care of. But at a high level, I would say, yeah, there is that. What do you, is there anything you think you're still missing from the current solution? The solution is, like I said, it's a reference implementation. They did this pool fund study. They said, these are the, signal metrics that we will monitor, and they implemented it. You cannot say, in that sense, it's complete. But is that the only thing the SPM data can support? Absolutely not. I mean, I maintain my Azure from January of 2024. I would like to create a report for the city manager someday saying, hey, after I came on board, here's the total delay versus what it was before. So like there's many things you can do once you have the data and are able to run queries. Maybe I don't hear you, Justin. I don't know if anybody else. Yeah, now better. Yeah.
I was on mute. One thing that I wanted to mention before I forget is I've heard that FHWA is discussing ways to incorporate ATSPM into some level of NTCIP to permit a reasonable security suite. Kind of just a little background. And I know that Katie had some really good statements in chat too. A similar problem in Florida where they had to manually edit file names to in transit of the decode to not share the IP addresses. And there are two options. One is IP address and the other is controller ID. The problem with controller ID is if you have more than one agency with the same vendor in your system, the DHE files are the same name and it confuses the system. So two very good comments in the chat. And
I totally agree with that. I mean, it's if there are two, they're all using the same IP address or whatever, that would not be a good way to construct the data structure. That's why I mentioned MAC address. MAC address is unique to that machine, and like it's like a VIN number, right, for your car. I mean, so
I think the problem with that one is
yeah.
backwards compatibility and people hot swapping controllers during maintenance.
Exactly. And that's also something we have dealt with. So yeah, when we swap controllers, please, first of all, when you're dealing with the problem there at a signal, the last thing on anybody's mind is, oh, what's going to happen to the continuity of the data? they're just trying to get that thing back up and running. And it just seems to be a big gap between in signal text. I mean, they'll run towards a burning cabinet, but you give them something to do with data, they'll be like, ooh, you fix it. And I'm like opposite to them. I run in the opposite direction, but I can handle data. So yeah, you have to have a process that handles that, at least within your system. And if a system is hosting multiple agencies, then there should be a higher level of disambiguation saying that, okay, we're going to get all this data slurp all this data from different agencies, but we'll have an agency ID as well. So as long as the agencies are internally consistent and internally, that's what I mean by this stable interface. So
we had to prefix it.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
We had to do what you're saying. We had to prefix it.
Right, all right.
So an agency identifier in front of the number, because what does every agency want to do? Start with number one as their signal.
That's right. And so, yeah, so if you look at my Azure portal, you'll see I just made up an IP address, 192.168, and the third octet is my ID. So something like that, that you can share. So maybe it could be like a IP address. That's because the standard is IP address. That's why. Otherwise, I'll mess up, poor TSAs. What they're doing is they're doing exactly the standard. So, yeah, I mean, to disambiguate, you have to have agency level, and so the database can, you can have everything in one database, but there is one column that distinguishes all the agencies, and within themselves they're consistent. But what I was going with the thought, Katie, is that once you're at the highest level of exposition in the cloud, that's it. That's stable. It's available to any number of clients, any number of It's always on. It's never off. It's always available for any dashboard, any query. And so, and has no dependency on the agency networks at all. So get out of your enterprise, but when you get out, just be consistent internally. That's the thing I guess would be how to deal with that.
Do you push all the raw out of your Azure, or do you push only the subset that you need to make the charts with?
Oh no, I push everything. I just take whatever I get my hands on, it goes into Azure. It's like Azure can take the punishment, and it costs me like $1 per month or something. So, and I'm
Okay,
yeah.
that's not bad. Yeah,
Mhm.
I was just say we were working on the scale of more like 1,000, 1,500 signals that were online. So I didn't
Okay,
know
maybe
how
10.
bad the size was getting on your end.
So far, it's on my credit card, and I don't care.
Good to know.
And eventually, I think, no, the city is looking into, I mean, we finally hired a cloud guy, and so we'll move it into like government cloud. And then, I don't know what, at that stage, I'll just say, okay, here's all the data. I don't care. Take it. But until then, I'm playing around in my own sort of sandbox. So I decided to sort of just do it myself. And I think it's very affordable. I think that's the great part about a cloud, right? So affordable, scalable, always on. And then I've not even begun to scratch the surface of things like data lakes and all that we can throw into this solution mix, where you can run queries, cloud scale queries, big data.
That's the
But
part I was concerned with the raw data. Was it hits a point where storage is cheap, but processing is expensive. So I didn't know if you were
exactly, I don't dare.
removing it,
So,
removing the unnecessary for
yeah,
the sake of processing cost.
I just landed by complete coincidence on like Blob. I was like, I'm just gonna put something out there and see how much it costs. And I was like, wow, I'm throwing so much at this thing, and it doesn't choke at all. Someday they may charge me, I don't know, but so far nothing, peanuts. And so that's why I like the Blob. And yeah, the processing, you're right. I mean, I'm hoping one day the AIs are going to become so powerful that they'll just look at this blob and go, oh, nothing. I'm just going to slurp it up and tell you everything you need to know. I tried that with Grok, as I was saying, but it's not. Well, I guess people are saying, oh, you should have used Grok 4. Well, I don't know. Maybe that I don't want to pay Grok.
All right. Great question so far. And I saw that Sean also had a comment at some point, if you get too big, then storing as a Parquet instead of CSV will be much faster and more efficient. And I also wanted to give Sean a chance to come off mute if you wanted to ask any follow-up questions of anything he had before. Sean has created some pretty amazing things in Power BI
Yes.
in summarizing data.
Oh, waiting on Sean. Yeah, Parquet. I've never heard of Parquet. Learned something new today.
All right. I think that is all the questions I have in the chat. So if anyone wants to, we still have about 9 minutes if anyone wants to come off mute and ask your question verbally.
Sorry, Andrew Nichols was asking about installation instructions for ATSPM 5.0 on the chat. And I think we've kind of said it a few times, maybe it wasn't super clear, but there's not going to be like there was with ATSPM 4.3, a specific step-by-step, here's how you install it, because the new one can be installed on any platform, any device, any configuration that you want. So it would be hard to create a single installation instruction. However, UDOT did add a Docker file that shows how to orchestrate a Docker installation locally. And I think that they have released that to the open source. So you can use that as kind of a base for your looking into your installation. But I don't think there's any plans to do a specific installation instruction manual because there's just so many.
Thank you for clarification, Derek. Are there any other questions?
Justin, can you hear me? This is Andrew. Yes, thanks for that clarification. I wonder, I just looked on the GitHub and I just wonder if what you just stated might be worthwhile. I do see a README file on the 5.0 GitHub, but I don't know if it contains that, what you just stated. So maybe if that could be added to the GitHub site for wider awareness that there's nothing else coming that could be beneficial to those who are waiting for it.
Yeah, I'll talk to to UDOT on that to see if there's something there. But yeah, there are documents on UDOT's website. If you go to their ATSPM, talks about resources and settings that kind of gives you some general guidelines of what you can use to do that sort of thing. But I'll talk to them about that. I think they still need to deprecate the old open source site as well.
Good. I see that Mark Taylor put a link. Appreciate that, Mark. Any other questions? Comments? Items you want to bring up? All right, I'm hearing none. So I'd like to really thank Uday. That was a great presentation, great conversation. Thank you so much for presenting at this monthly call. And I think we're good to adjourn the monthly call. Thank you, everyone.